Top of the morning, it's your boy Big Rich. Sunday morning business. You know how we do. Gentlemen, wipe your feet on the rug, throw some smoke in the atmosphere. I got a little bit of blueberry OG Kush. Let me know if you could top that. And salute to the dude yesterday for the 43-minute video that actually put up the time when the video starts. The video started at 1 minute and 37 seconds or 1 minute and 36 seconds. Obviously, 96 seconds of my intro was just unbearable, which had me, I was dying laughing on the floor. So I pinned it so everybody can see when yesterday's video starts. To those that enjoyed the intro, salute. To those that don't, forward it to when the video starts. It doesn't bother me. I still salute you for listening. Let's get right into business. Mob rat of this Desgraciad, Gene Borrello, remains in danger, according to the judge. A federal judge decided last week to keep the case of mob snitch Gene Borrello sealed for safety reasons. The New York Post reported that Gene Borrello, a former Bonnano family associate and a one-man crime wave that robbed and terrorized his Howard Beach neighbors. The release of Borello in December outraged residents of Howard Beach, a neighborhood that boasts a few wise guy residents and usually has a high tolerance for mob antics. Borello, however, who was long considered a low-life thug and a one-man local crime wave, is considered a special case. Neighbors there say they suffered through years of terrifying break-ins, during which victims were bound, beaten, and robbed by Borello's old crew, and now fear he may go back at it. This animal is now free to do the same thing all over again. Borello, the irate local said, forced himself into homes of law-abiding citizens, tied them up, and placed a gun to their head, and stole their life savings and personal belongings. Now, it's a home invasion. You know what my advice when a home invasion, right? You gate your windows and you get a dog. That's it. Your dog will let you know somebody's outside your house. Therefore, you go grab what you got to grab and you handle your business. His specialty was home invasions, an endeavor he pursued while not behind bars for 4 separate arrests. Then he changed sides and started cooperating with the feds. Pesa de merda. Borello's cooperation was a key reason the feds were able to make 3 major mob cases in Brooklyn federal court. He helped the feds win a guilty plea from Bonnano capo Vincent Asaro, who had walked out of a court a free man after a jury acquitted him in the Lufthansa case. Vinny Asaro, 84, is due to be released on May 21, 2022. Asaro's nephew and alleged acting Bonnano capo, Ronnie G. Alonzo, 49, is due out on May 21, 2029. Borello's cooperation also nailed the namesake grandson of late Gambino boss John Gotti, who pled guilty to arson charges along with Asaro in November of 2016. According to court documents, Borello recruited John Gotti to help carry out the 2012 arson attack on behalf of Asaro. Gene Borrello doused the car with gasoline, which was then lit on fire by a match from defendant Matthew Fat Mike Rulon, and Gotti drove the getaway car. He also teamed up with Gotti, Rulon, and another defendant, Michael Guidici, to rob a Queens bank in April of 2012, which netted the crew over $5,000. Borello was tasked by Ronnie G's brother-in-law, Michael Hintz, who also is a co-defendant, to take care of a deadbeat loan shark customer back in late 2010 and early 2011, but he botched the hit. Hintz told Borello that Gialonzo, who was behind bars at the time, had told him to address the situation. Court filings also document an incident from 2013 in which Borello and Gialonzo dragged a loan shark customer out of a deli to his car and beat him until he shitted on himself. The debtor was assaulted because he admitted to paying his home mortgage instead of paying off his debt to Ronnie G, according to the report. Borello was also the gunman in the murder plot that Gialonzo is charged with orchestrating in 2006. Borello managed to wing his victim. And in the third case, he helped plan a $250,000 home invasion in which 2 robbers tied up a woman and ripped her engagement ring off her finger in 2014. Borello was also involved in a plan by Gotti, Rulon, and another defendant, Michael Guidici, the 22-year-old son of Gambino soldier Frank Guidici, to rob a Maspeth, Queens bank on April 18, 2012, one that netted the three defendants a total of $5,941 they got from the teller. Then there was the December of 2010 home invasion in which the robbers posed as UPS employees, according to court filings. Borello recruited a robbery team for the job, which he expected to yield hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. The robbery was allegedly ordered by Gialonzo's underlings, soldier Michael Padavona and Michael Palmicchio, who provided weapons and UPS uniforms for the caper. Also in Gialonzo's case, Borello pegged a bullet and missed at a deadbeat loan shark customer in late 2010 or early 2011. That was allegedly after Ronnie G's brother-in-law, co-defendant Michael Hins, 53, told Borello that the imprisoned Gialonzo had ordered him to address the situation, according to prosecutors. Continuing his own mob mayhem in March of 2014, Borello was involved in the planning of an alleged March 12, 2014 home invasion in Howard Beach, in which Hatley and co-defendant Christopher Chris Boothby got over $50,000 in cash and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, including high-end designer watches and a Cartier ring from Jane Doe's finger. Borello's most recent arrest, according to court records, was in September of 2014 for planning yet another home invasion of a suspected drug dealer. In that June 5, 2014 escapade, Borello allegedly teamed up with Frank Cipolla, his half-brother, according to police reports. Queens detectives who had been tipped about the plan by an informer, Frank Nunziata, a disgraciado, pulled Cipolla over on his way to the victim's home. In the car, they found guns, a ski mask, and plastic zip ties. Gene was known for his willingness to use violence and threats of violence to collect loan shark business. Borello had told Ed Scarpo from Cosa Nostra News that he wasn't the boss. Ronnie Gialonzo was, and that he only shot people because he was told to. I took orders from Ronnie G and Vinny Asaro, Gene said. I was a shooter for the Bonnano family. Gangland News called Borello an animal who forced himself into the homes of law-abiding citizens, tied them up, and placed a gun to their head and stole their life savings and personal belongings. Borello, as per Gangland, is a low-life thug, as well as a one-man crime wave who ran a crew that pulled terrifying break-ins. Quote, I wasn't the boss. Ronnie was. He was the one who lived in a $3 million house in the corner, not me. Borello shot people, but not because he wanted to. He was ordered to. Ronnie sent him in with a gun after people, a rival drug dealer in 2005 and someone who owned Gialonzo money in 2011. For talking to the government, Borello supposedly got a time-served period of 5 years. A disgracia to you and the government. 5 years? Freaking weed dealers get more time. Borello isn't claiming he's an angel. Nothing of the sort. In fact, he readily discussed his life of crime with us in detail. He also tells us very sincerely, in our humble opinion, that he's no longer in the life and that he has retired from the street and is no longer a lawbreaker. He wants to tell Jerry Capisci that all the crimes he committed since 19, his age of his first arrest, were in service to Cosa Nostra. I was doing it for the mob, he says. I wasn't out there terrorizing people. I only hurt the people Vinny and Ronnie had me hurt. I made sure they both stayed multimillionaires. Gangland sources, he says, are exaggerating all this robbery stuff. I was on the streets doing all their dirty work, and now they made me look like I was just a dirtbag. Jerry Capisci made me look like a home invasion guy. Borello had known Gialonzo and Asaro since he was young, noting, I did a lot of violence for them. The feds haven't even released his proffers, and the media only knows little bits and pieces of what happened in the various cases he's tied to, he says. Borello, who apparently isn't among the connected hoods tolerated by the locals, takes deep issue with how Gangland had portrayed him, telling Cosa Nostra News that those home invasions he was behind were done expressly on the orders of the Bonnano family, specifically alleged acting capo Ronnie G and longtime capo Vinny Asaro, among other Bonnano wise guys, including alleged soldier John Bazoo Regano. Borello only robbed houses after he was given the key and intelligence about the homeowner's mob-linked financial situation. In one specific case, the Bonnanos told him that the homeowner had given a large cash payment had been given a large cash payment from the Gambino family. Gene discussed one robbery in particular, noting how a Bonnano soldier had handed him the key to the house that was robbed. We had to tie up the wife because she was in the house and she wasn't supposed to be. The robbery alone netted Bonnano Link crew almost $500,000 in jewelry and loan shark money. The homeowner in that case was robbed because the Bonnano family told Borello to rob him because they had known and had transmitted the information to Borello that the homeowner had gotten a large cash payment from alleged Gambino wise guy Vincenzo Vinny Car Wash Frogiero. The homeowner in this case was himself a mobbed-up loan shark, in other words. We knew the cash would be in the house, Borello said, noting that around the time there was a beef between the two crime families, the Bonannos and the Gambinos. Gangland News recently wrote, 6 days before a federal judge decided last week to keep the case of mob snitch Gene Borrello sealed for safety reasons, the home invasion specialist gave an hour-long rap to a podcaster about how he loved to pistol whip and rob people and had a real bad anger problem. During February 29 podcast, Borello, looking relaxed and happy to be the star of the show, casually described what he told the judge at his sentencing. I talked about myself, I said. Your Honor, I'm sorry for everything I've done, the whole 9 yards, he said. Okay, I'm going to give you time served. It was the second time he took to social media airwaves last month to discuss his closed courtroom sentencing that Gangland first reported in December. During the animated hour-plus discussion, it was hard not to notice that Borello, dressed in all black, was wearing what appeared to be a very expensive-looking Switch watch. Switch watches, other than those made by Swatch, are above Gangland's pay grade. But the one on Borello's left wrist, according to at least one of the 3,200-plus viewers of the podcast, sure looked like a rose gold royal oak and Audemars Piguet. The model timepiece, according to quick internet search, cost from $45,000 to $60,000. Since Borello insists that he lost the spoils of all his crimes while jailed for 19 months before he agreed to cooperate in August of 2016, Gangland assumes that the watch was a good knockoff or maybe a gift. It could not possibly be something he picked up during one of his hundreds of thousands of dollars of home invasion scores in Queens or the $500,000 daytime jewelry store robbery on Long Island that he boasted about on the podcast. His attorney, Nancy Ellis, and prosecutors Lindsey Gerdes and Keith Edelman each declined to answer any questions about Borello's situation. On March 5th, all three attorneys teamed up to help convince a suddenly gullible Brooklyn federal judge, Frederick Block, that Borello's case still needed to remain sealed for at least 3 more months to keep him safe. We'll get to the jewelry store and major home invasion robberies he set up while he was hiding out in Florida and didn't take part in, contrary to what Gangland reported in December, after we fill in a few details about the time-served sentence he received back on December 11th that Borello didn't mention. Sources say that probation officers who noted that Borello's cooperation was significant also told Judge Block, since there were no mitigating facts in his personal history, recommended a sentence of 10 years in prison because of his far-ranging conduct that included attempted murder, arson, assault, extortion, illegal gambling, and robbery. They also recommended that when he is released from prison, Borello should avoid contact with the victims of his crimes and not associate with any individuals affiliated with any organized crime groups for 5 years. Block went along with these recommendations for 3 years. Interestingly, Gambino associate turned cooperating witness John Alight of Desgraciad introduced Borello to a college student host of the Where's This Going podcast, Felix Levine. A few days later, after he interviewed Alight, who now tells young kids not to follow in his footsteps as part of a second chance program that he runs. Whether his supervised release restrictions mean that Borello, who's wearing the Audemars Piguet looking watch in his photo with Alight that was posted on Borello's Instagram account, is permitted to have contact with Alight, the reformed murderous gangster, is one of the many questions that the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's Office and Borello's lawyer declined to discuss. Borello, 35, a nephew of the late Gambino mobster Anthony Fat Andy Ruggiano, told Levine that he was always in limbo about the sentence he would receive. He said he was nervous about getting hammered until he ran into turncoat Colombo soldier Joseph Joe Caves Campetiello, a disgraciad, in a secure prison unit that housed cooperating witnesses. When I got to WITSEC unit, I ran into a guy named Joey Caves, he said. Me and him became good friends. I said, Joe, I think they're going to fuck me, he says. I killed 6 people. I got 12 years. He goes, relax, you're going to be all right. Borello recalled with a chuckle. Campetiello turned out to be correct, but Borello was still concerned until he heard Block say the magic words, time served. Well, you never know what you're going to get, said Borello, even though both his lawyers and prosecutors recommended time served. The judge can say anything. He could just wake up the wrong way thinking, I didn't get laid last night. You know what? I'm giving you an extra 3 years. He agreed to cooperate in August of 2016, he said, after prosecutors visited him in Rikers Island, where he was waiting trial on the home invasion trial, and his mother advised him that it was the best way to get out of prison and change his life around. Quote, I was a bad guy, he said. He told Levine that after he was released from prison in 2004 at the age of 19, I finally got with the Bonnano family. I started doing sports betting, loans, a little more drug dealing. I was still doing stick-ups. I really liked to rob. He laughed. I did. I couldn't help myself. I was an armed robber. How many robberies? It's uncountable. He laughed. Books full. It's uncountable. Robberies. I did over 100. Definitely. Shootings? I had a couple. Beatings, I had a bunch. His best score, Borello said, was a $500,000 haul when he and 2 cohorts stole during an armed robbery of a Long Island jewelry store in broad daylight in 2011. Real cowboy stuff, he cackled. I jumped over the counter, robbed the whole store, and they didn't expect us to come in at 9 in the morning. We were out of control. Without naming the victim, Borello said that one of his biggest home invasion score was the March 12, 2014 robbery of the Howard Beach home of a guy in our crew who was a pretty good friend of mine. I don't want to get into details. It was fucked up. In fact, as Gangland first reported in 2015, the victim was Bonnano's associate, Robert Bam Catrone, whose home was invaded by thugs who escaped with over $50,000 in cash and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, including high-end designer watches. In general, Borello explained, you have to have 3 or 4 on a home invasion. I always like to have a guy outside, a scanner. Sometimes you want 2 in the house. Bonnano associate Christopher Bald Chris Boothby remained outside during the robbery, acted as a lookout with the help of a police scanner. Mob associate Matthew Hatley was the inside man who terrorized Catrone's girlfriend, ripping a ring off her finger and tied her up. I was in Florida, Borello said. I sent people in there. I was given the score. His good friend, Catrone's good friend, another made guy, set him up, and that's how we did it. I wasn't in the house. They always say that Gene Borrello was behind the mask, he said, and without noting at this point it was a gangland faux pas. I wasn't even in the house, he smiled, with a, can you believe it, grin on his face, with his hands outstretched, palms up. I wasn't even there. No, he wasn't. Gangland regrets writing that Borello was behind the mask on March 12, 2014, since all he did was dispatch the masked invader to rob his pretty good friend. Since Borello seems to enjoy setting the record straight, Gangland wonders where he got the watch he was proudly wearing for all the world to see back on February 29. All right, so salute to the New York Post, salute to Costa Nostra News, salute to Gangland News, all right? And salute to Shattered for taking bits and pieces from all the articles and laying it down for me. Salute to you, sir. Huh? It's my boy. What's poppin'? Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to get some rest. Salute. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share the video. Make sure you comment on the video. You guys got to let me know what you're puffing on. I got some Blueberry OG Kush. If you could top that, please do. All right? Salute to everybody. Have a great Sunday morning.